fabric. I thought it was a snake print, but it's actually knitting. Who prints knitting on fabric? Oh, hey! Hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12, Episode 10. And before we get started, of course, I would like to thank all of you who took the time to support me, whether you liked the video, whether you subscribe to my channel, whether you tip me on PayPal. And the people that tipped me this week, I just want to thank Patrick, either Malachi or Malici. I don't know how you pronounce your last name. I'm going to go with Malici because it sounds dirty. You brought her, you Malici. But thank you for tipping me, Patrick. Also, David Leslie, Edmund Muhammad. And Edmund, I just want to apologize for skipping your name. I think it was last week. I don't know why I did. But thank you, doll, for your donation. Hamilton Armstrong was another one who tipped me, Canadian as well. So was Edmund. She's... It's so funny because Edmund, when she emailed me, she said, oh, by the way, I'm a woman, or something to that effect, which I was like, oh, and I looked at her name again. I didn't really, think one thing or another, but then it was like, oh, Edmund, oh. But then I have a friend named Iman, so Iman, Edmond, it just made sense to me. So thanks again, Edmund. Hamilton Armstrong, as I said, and Cameron Brooks from Australia. If I missed you last week, because I have a feeling I did, or if I didn't, I'm saying your name twice, but either way, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That said, I also would like to say that I got a picture of another Redbubble purchase, a Magenta Fox. This is her out of drag, or maybe that is her in drag. I don't know, I'm not judging. But she clearly has a better connection to cocktails than I do, Jorge, I'm just saying. But she bought the Jorge Drink Me shirt in red. Red is what we call that color. Speaking of red, so thank you for buying Magenta Fox. You look good, girl. So does that drink. Speaking of Redbubble, I just want to say I ordered one of my Sweet Marie and the Ships at Sea shirts. Look at that. How beautiful. Because I hadn't seen it. And I thought, I haven't seen what that looks like. And I have to say, I like it. Also, as far as Redbubble's concerned, I do have stickers available, and these are the smaller sticker ones. And again, I just got them to see what they look like. They're pretty good. That's a good size sticker right there, Sweet Marie and Jorge. I'm just saying. Speaking of, let's get started. Jorge, drink me. It's empty. What is that in there? Compost? What is that? A twist? Oh, thank you. Well, I'm supposed to, it's like IKEA and make it myself? Oh, I see. You just wanted it to be fresh. Well, isn't that thoughtful, Jorge, sweet beats? Oh, so it's a classic martini for our review. I hope you all have a fabulous cocktail. This is just aviator gin because Ryan Reynolds is sexy, and if he puts it in his mouth, I want to be a part of that. And just a little citrus. I used lime because, well, somebody forgot to get the lemons. I'm not judging. Ooh, martini-y. Ooh, that's delicious. I hope you're enjoying your cocktail too. Let's go put that, don't touch it. All right, so we started this week off by saying goodbye to poor sweet widow Von Du, and God bless her. Her presence, or the absence thereof, was definitely felt in that workroom. I'm so serious. Of course, Heidi was sorry to see her go, but also felt that widow had literally given up. So in Heidi's mind, it was the right time for her to go, although she said that she would definitely be missing her southern sister. Heidi's so sweet. I thought it was very astute of Jada to take that moment to reflect on how easy this contest can be in tripping you up. The minute you get into your head, the minute you overthink things. Because Widow was a strong competitor, and she started really strong by winning that first challenge. And then just seemed to just let a lot of things, I think when they had that a Gay's Anatomy, she kind of psyched herself out in that, although she did an excellent job, but it's still, she was fighting an uphill battle with her own demons, seriously. Our Miss Cox was still basking in her own glory of the just liberating moment for her to be on stage in her hijab. See, I said it right. Got a couple of, I'm so sorry I said it wrong in the first place. I'm just saying. But I have to agree. I think it was a very powerful moment. A lot of people online said that they didn't like it because it wasn't drag enough. And I still think it was a powerful statement, period. I don't think that a powerful drag statement always needs to be a drag outfit. I'm just saying. Here's to Ms. Cox. Bask away, baby. Of course, all the girls congratulated Jada Essence Hall on her second win of the season, which puts her at a tie with Sherry Pie. The other queen that's doing really well, Gigi, she's got 3 wins, sweet beats. The only other queen in the top 6 with a win? Well, Heidi, I'm just so serious, which puts a lot of pressure on Jackie and Crystal, I'm just saying. The next day in the workroom, Heidi was still in her feels over being in the top 6. And why shouldn't she? God bless. But before she could get too comfy, there was Ru with this week's Maxi Challenge. It was a makeover challenge, and it wasn't just any old makeover challenge. This time, the drag queens were going to be making over female superfans of Drag Race. Now, I just want to start off by saying, I've had a few discussions with a few people, some close friends, in fact, too, and a lot of people had a lot of different opinions of this. A lot of people are very divisive on women doing drag, and I would just like to say that my opinion of women doing drag is that it's not drag, it's the style of drag, because drag, by its own definition, is dressing as a girl. Now, I'm going to say, lots of women don't dress like girls. God bless them. They're just trying to get through the day and make sure nobody dies. But that said, they're still women. They've got smaller waists, bigger hips, boobs. Even if they have small boobs, no waist, and square hips, they're still women. There's no tucking involved. The outfits go on a little easier because in most cases, these women are still within the realm of women's sizes. Once you get into men with big backs and big arms, I mean, that's where the transformation happens. And that's the other thing that I think about drag. It's a transformation from one sex to another. Now, when I say that women who do drag are dressing in the style of drag, there's still a transformation there. There's a transformation when Patti LaBelle gets dressed. There's for the stage. There's a transformation when Diana Ross gets dressed for the stage. Even Billie Eilish, I'm sure that she does not look, well, she probably does, bless her. But that said, I get the argument. I think a lot of people feel that women doing drag is equal to cultural appropriation. And in a lot of cases, it's almost the definition of cultural appropriation, because dressing as a woman is very much in the drag culture. And for people who aren't men and aren't gay, to dress as drag, I can see where a lot of people get problems with that. I also have friends that feel that these women weren't bullied and picked on the way gay kids are bullied and picked on. And I have to agree with that too. I think that there is definitely a different level of abuse that goes on with gay kids. But I don't like to discredit anybody's bullying. Bullying is bullying. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter how extreme it was or how long it lasted. Bullying is not okay, period. And anyone who receives it, regardless of the level that people feel they're getting it at, it's still bullying. It doesn't matter if it's aggressive bullying or just a snide comment in the hall. It's still the same thing. And I would hate for anyone who has had a life of being bullied to be told they couldn't do something because of how they look or who they are in that case. I mean, I'm sure I'm being a lot more liberal about my view on drag than some people. But that said, I don't agree that women doing drag is drag. They are dressing in the style of drag. So here's to them. Good for you. Dress up. Do what? Ooh, I spilled. Early. So back to these super fans. Well, not only were they there for the challenge, but they didn't know they were there for that. These 6 women thought that they were going to be in the audience for one of the fantastic RuPaul challenges that they often need an audience for. So when they were ushered into the workroom, everyone was kind of yelled surprise, and well, they were, God bless. Well, there's Ru in a suit, and then 6 queens. They didn't know, but still. And then when they were told they were getting makeovers, well, they plotzed. It was spectacular, seriously. So because Jada Essence Hall won last week's main challenge, she got to pair up the queens with the Superfans. And I have to say, I thought that she did a fairly okay job. I mean, here you are dealing with 6 total strangers. You know, you could pick somebody who looks like they'd be great in drag and isn't. And we've certainly seen that before. I'm so serious. So who did Jada pick for herself? Well, cute little blonde Bethany. And I think the reason that Jada picked her is because I think she looked like a good canvas. You could do a lot with that face. She had a lot to work with. I'm just saying. Jada then teamed up Crystal with a lovely little girl named Grace. Now, Grace looked like she was thrilled to be anywhere. So I think that that was a good sign for Crystal, that the two of them would have some fun. Seriously. Sherry Pie was the lucky queen who got to work with Janet, the planet, which I thought was kind of at first, it was like, oh, Janet, you poor thing. That's what you call yourself? Well, she actually had her name legally changed, she said, because, well, she's 6 feet tall. She's been mistaken as a boy or a man more than half of her life. And, I mean, that's got to do something to you after a little while. But she turned it around, made it a positive. She said when she found drag queens, she felt they were her real sisters. And they empowered her to embrace herself, and she decided to legally change her name to Janet the Planet. Here's to you, Janet. Orbit you, I'm just saying. Heidi got Nicole, who looked like she was going to be a ball of fire, because right out of the gate, she's like, okay, girl, we're winning. And I like that. I thought that that was a good match for our Miss Heidi. Gigi was teamed up with Shea Coulee II. Well, she wasn't Shea Coulee, it was Shea, but clearly not sorry that that's her name after Shea Coulee's fabulous showing on Drag Race. I'm so serious. And then, of course, that left our Miss Cox to be teamed up with Tiffany, who was a spitfire, a ball of fun. I was so excited to see what this girl was going to bring to that runway. I'm so serious. So, right away, the queens and their superfans got to work. Crystal and Grace bonded over glitter, because mostly that Crystal loves it, and Grace is a kindergarten teacher, so you know, she fighting the glitter line. Ooh, this will help. Do you remember when I said that sometimes a good obvious pick for a makeover turns out to not be a great pick for a makeover? Well, that was the case with Jada Essence Hall and Bethany, because Bethany admitted to Jada she didn't walk in heels. She doesn't walk in heels. And when she put on some heels, well, immediately her little toe got pinched, and Jada's pageant attitude kicked in. It's like, well, you don't need a little toe. Cut it off. Make some room. I'm just saying. Bless Bethany, though. Those shoes look tight. Seriously. Our Miss Cox had a running tally of fabulous things that made her Tiffany a great contestant in this challenge. Some of them being, well, she'd watched it since season 1. She watches it with her mom. Sadly, not her dad, but her mom is a huge fan as well, and they bonded over this show. But what was really impressive was, well, there's little Tiffany doing some slow splits. She clearly has no problem walking in heels, and our Miss Cox was very proud to show her new drag daughter off. Of course, being a proper pageant girl, Jada Essence Hall had to shoot her down by saying, well, where'd your daughter learn to do that? Because you can't do it. And then our Miss Cox said, well, she's also an improviser, which Jada said, weren't you an improviser last week? And shade, let me just say to the children, shade of it all. God bless. Nicole and Heidi bonded over their love of disco, but it became very evident very quickly that even though Nicole had this big personality, she was very much a hurt, shy little girl in there, and clearly the product of a lot of bullying and judging and hate. I blame the internet. I always do, because, well, it's not me. I'm just saying. But it was very touching. And, you know, I have to say, as much, everybody who's been bullied thinks they're the only one. And in fact, lots of people have been bullied. Lots of people get picked on. It's actually more common than you think. But it's being able to understand where that person's coming from. And sometimes you don't need to solve their problem. You just need to listen. And I think that Nicole hit the jackpot for drag moms with our Miss Heidi, because there was nobody who was more eager to lend an ear to a hurt person than our Miss Heidi. Seriously, here's the Heidi. She's so lovely. Crystal and Grace were another good match. I'm so serious. They got along like a house covered in glitter. And I have to say, they had a lot of similarities. Both Aries, both have stress issues. But I loved that Grace shared her defense against stress with Heidi, which was to give everyone the Wonder Woman stance. Tits out, arms up. Full Missy. That's a full Missy. This is I'm a Little Teapot. This is a full Missy. You give it a full Missy with your tits out, and that's the Wonder Woman. Legs apart, because you're powerful. And I have to say, just even watching the two of them did it, I started to feel better. I'm so serious. Of course, you could tell from over on her side of the room that Jada Essence Hall wasn't buying any of that Wonder Woman stance empowerment. But before she could say anything to Heidi and Grace, there was Rue to check on her and Bethany's progress. And I have to say, I like that Rue right away said, well, why did you pick Bethany? And Jada said, well, to let her, help her release her wild side. And I have to say, looking at Bethany, no offense, but I don't see a wild side in there that's looking to break out at all. This woman looks like she's quite happy to go from A to B in the minivan and make sure that all of her credit card payments are done on time. That's not a read. That's what she looks like. So the fact that Jada even acknowledged that there was a wild side in there, I thought was interesting, to say the least. What I loved about Bethany was that she said she takes both her daughters to DragCon and that she thinks every parent should do just exactly the same thing. And I'm not arguing with her. I think she's onto something. But the reason that she thinks that all parents should take their kids to DragCon is that it's a great example that you can show your children that you can be and do anything that you want to be and do. And seriously, wouldn't we all have had happier childhoods if we'd even had one parent like that? I'm just saying. Here's to you, Bethany. You're a great mom. Of course, the only thing somebody can't be in the house of Jada Essence Hall is a loser. Because she don't let no losers up in her house. Seriously, Bethany better not get too comfortable. Just saying. Next, Rue dropped in on Sherry Pie and Janet, the planet 6 feet tall. Here's to you, Janet. God bless you. Being tall is not easy. I'm 6'4", not in heels. I'm a moose. That's why I wear kitten heels. Well, that and I hate to fall over. I'm a lot to pick up, I'm just saying. The one thing that was evident about Janet the Planet right away, that she was just oozing with quiet confidence. And I could see why Rue fell in love with her right there and then. I can also see why Gigi was a little nervous that Janet and Sherry Pie were going to give her a run for the money. Speaking of, Gigi and Shay were next on Rue's visit list. And I have to say, I really loved Shay saying that she liked how her love of Drag Race put her into queer spaces that she may normally not have experienced, and how being in those queer spaces made her feel better and more confident about herself. It's very empowering, and you could see that Rue was very proud of these women and what they were experiencing. And you can also see that Rue wished more people were brave enough to try. Just saying. Somebody who wasn't feeling too comfortable was Gigi, mostly because she'd been in the bottom the last 2 weeks, and she swore to Rue that she would not let it happen again. Cue Gone with the Wind music. Next, Rue dropped in on Heidi and Nicole, where the I Hate Heidi's Last Name show continued. And I have to say, I've heard a lot of people say that they find that insulting, that Rue's not a fan of Heidi's last name. I have to say, though, on my Meet the Queens for this season, I said as much myself. I don't like it either. Now, I have heard from people that her real name was Heidi Nina Closet, which makes way more sense. But regardless, I've been quite enjoying these other little last names that Rue's been coming up. And clearly, so has Heidi. But it wasn't about Heidi, it was about Nicole. And Nicole had said that she was a little nervous. She was starting to admit that she may not be as confident as she appeared right out of the gate, and that she was afraid of revealing herself, that she's used to hiding. Of course, Rue said, well, drag isn't about hiding. It's all about the reveal. So you could see that Heidi had some work ahead of her, and Nicole also had some work that she had to do on herself, seriously. The one thing, though, that I loved was Nicole saying that she watches RuPaul's Drag Race with her husband, and that they both say, drag brings joy. So I'm hoping that Nicole can feel her own message here and let the joy descend. Speaking of descending, Crystal and Grace were just too cute together, and that's probably why Rue didn't spend any time with them. Just saying. Our Miss Cox and Tiffany, aka Lil Snacky Cox, were next on RuPaul's Goodwill Tour. And I have to say that their plan to have a disco theme really seemed to ruffle Heidi's feathers, I'm just saying. Enough so that Heidi threw some age shade at our Miss Cox. I'm so serious. Something else that was thrown at Jackie was a thinly veiled threat from Rue that she had better not find herself in the bottom again. Seriously. As Rue was leaving the workroom, he had one more surprise for the teams, and that was to give the Superfans a complete RuPaul's Drag Race experience. They were going to have to lip sync for their lives. They had to learn to lip sync. Sweet beats. Barf. So, team by team, the queens and their daughters hit the runway to work on their lip sync. You could tell all of these women were super thrilled to be there. Grace particularly seemed to be a little overcome by the whole experience. Thank God for that Wonder Woman pose. Everyone else seemed to breeze through their rehearsals like a dream. Well, except for Bethany, who clearly was having some high heel issues. See? Not everyone's meant to walk in heels, I'm just saying. The next day in the workroom, the queens had to doll up their daughters for the runway. And I love that Crystal was a little nervous about putting her face on Grace, bless her. But why wouldn't she? I mean, no offense to Crystal, I love her now, but first sighting, especially if that face is coming at you, it's a bit of a threat, I'm just saying. While Jada got Bethany all up in drag, she told her about her boyfriend of 12 years and even got a little emotional about that, which I have to say surprised me just a little. And then I saw his picture. I get emotional missing that too, I'm just saying. Good for you, Jada. Cheers. Seriously. Our Miss Cox, a little snacky, talked about how Drag Race is best enjoyed as a family. And one of the things that little snacky was sorry for was that her dad doesn't watch Drag Race with her and her mom. But what was really interesting was our Miss Cox telling little snacky how supportive her dad is, because as Jackie points out, usually it's not the dad. Usually the dad's the one everyone worries about having a negative reaction. And even though our Miss Cox said that her dad is very traditional and you know, probably a little more composed than some people, very supportive of our Miss Cox, has been to shows and all of that, where our Miss Cox's mom is the one that seems to have a bigger hurdle up in front of her. Just that. Heidi was a little nervous about putting makeup on Nicole, mostly because she didn't want her to look rough like she has in the past. But then I thought, if Nicole doesn't look rough, how will anyone know that she's your daughter? And that's when the shade dam burst. All the queens started reading each other and defending their daughters and just reading each other for filth. It was hilarious. But the one topic that was clearly off limits was the fact that Crystal had painted Grace's face completely yellow. Seriously. Oh no, they judged. Just quietly. Gigi was the first queen to reveal her drag daughter makeover, and I have to say, Shay was impressed, but so was I. I thought she looked really, really good. The only queen that seemed to really not have any positive opinion was Crystal. Crystal felt that Gigi had taken a pretty girl and turned her into a pretty girl. See, there's the argument against drag. Heidi revealed Nicole next, and as beautiful as Nicole looked, I don't think she looked much like Heidi, but I'm starting to see that Heidi's looking more and more like Diana Ross. Is anyone else noticing that? Am I the only one? Seriously. But I do want to know what color lipstick that was that Heidi put on Nicole. It was delicious. But before I could find out what shade of Anastasia Beverly Hills lipstick Heidi used, it was time for the runway. And I have to say, I love this purple Versace-inspired dress on Rue. I thought she looked spectacular. Somebody else who looked spectacular, her drag daughter, Michelle, who was very proud to say hi to her papa. I'm just saying. Ross Matthews was there as well, and he was sitting on a secret, which wasn't a secret for long, his new book. Good for Ross, I'm just saying. But the big news on that lovely judges panel was Daisy Ridley, star of the last 3 Star Wars movies, and she just looked stunning because, well, she looked like she just walked in off the street. She didn't have any hair pulled back, not a little chapstick and mascara. She was good to go. Seriously, how old is she? First down the runway was Heidi Aphrodite and Honey Almighty. And the first thing that I have to say is I hated Honey's dress, God bless her. No offense to her. I mean, it wasn't her fault. Heidi put that on her. But, oh, that dress was completely the antithesis of Heidi's. And if Heidi's was going to the disco, poor Honey's was cleaning up after the disco in the morning, getting out that bucket and cleaning all the sick off the dance floor. You know, it wasn't that bad a dress. It just wasn't equal to Heidi's. And because it wasn't as fabulous as Heidi's wizard sleeve jumpsuit, it really also made their family resemblance even further from each other. So unfortunately, I was very disappointed in Heidi and Honey, seriously. Next down the runway was our Ms. Cox and Lil Snacky. And although these outfits were better than Heidi and Honey's, I still didn't like these either. I mean, these were both jumpsuit, one shorts, one long, but I hated our Ms. Cox's shoes. I hated the length of the pants on her jumpsuit. I also felt that Little Snacky's outfit, although it was cute, just had no oomph. It was just very understated. They could have very well have been out at the disco, but they weren't looking for anything, I'm just saying. Thank God the Essence Halls hit the runway next. There was Jada with Jazz. And I just have to say, wow, wow, wow. Now that's drag makeup on a woman. Wow! Her face was different. The way she was standing. Now, I think that she was a little nervous to be in a short dress, or maybe it was shorter than they had planned. But I love that Jazz never took that boa off of her thighs. It was always down there. But short of that, they looked fantastic. Did they look like sisters? No, not particularly, but they looked like they were in the same show. Do you know what I mean? They looked like they would have been in a chorus line together. They were very similar. I mean, clearly one is the whitest thing you've ever seen and blonde hair, and then there's the deliciousness known as Jada Essence Hall. But that deliciousness certainly transferred to her drag daughter, I'm just saying. The other thing that I loved about Jazz Essence Hall was that she changed her shoes. She went from those real toe crushers to those strappy high heel sandals, which I have to say was probably a good move for her on her toe, because you can say to somebody all you want, just ignore the pain. It's not as easily done as some people say, unless of course you're self-medicating. Crystal and Opal Method were next, and I have to say, I'm going to be serious, I had my doubts on this look when Crystal was putting Opal all up in that yellow face in the workroom. But like drag most of the time, even when you're doing a mug like this, you know, there's that moment where it looks rough, and then you put your eyelashes on or you put the wig on or something and it all comes together. Well, that's the case with Crystal and Opal. They standing next to each other, they made more sense together than they would have separately. But even separately, they look great. I love that it was a play on Bert and Ernie. I love that they didn't have natural skin tones. I loved how Opal embraced the whole thing. There was a moment for me where I was watching the yellow go on to Opal's face, and I thought, you know, I say this so that you want an experience, be specific. I want to be on Drag Race. Did you want to be yellow? Most people wouldn't. They want to be the beauty queen, right? They want to be Fish. I don't think that Opal missed out on anything by being yellow, looking like a troll doll, because she was feeling it and she was selling it. And you could see that Crystal was just loving every second of it as much as she was. It was a good job. I'm just saying. Here's to you, Crystal. Another team that just knocked it out of the park for me was Sherry Pie and Tiramisu, aka Janet the Planet. There were moments where I couldn't tell who was Sherry Pie. They looked so similar, and the wig height, and the fact that Janet was tall. I mean, Janet's taller than Sherry Pie, but because of that height difference, it kind of sometimes made me think that the taller of the two of them was the drag queen. But no, they both were. And I was so impressed. I thought that Opal sold it as well as Sherry Pie did, and seriously, it was an excellent transformation. Well done. Another team who didn't particularly look like sisters but looked like they were in the same show was Gigi Good and BB Bad. Now, I'm not saying I didn't like their outfits. I thought they were spectacular. But they were a little safe coats and hats. Like there was no, I don't know, there was really no drag outfit to judge. Although the looks themselves were spectacular. They could have been in Paris Vogue together. Seriously. And then they were judged. And I have to say, this was a lovely critique. It was very supportive. I mean, you know, you've got Superfans in there. You don't want them to leave the stage crying. I mean, if you can help it. But I thought they were very supportive and very kind. And anything that they said that was a negative, they really directed to the drag queen because they were more responsible for the finished look. The first team up, Heidi and Honey. And I just want to start off by saying I was super impressed for Honey to wear that dress, especially because the skirt was just above her knees, and she hadn't worn a skirt since the 8th grade. And I get it. I mean, that's a long time to not want to show off your legs. And not only is she doing it, but on TV with cameras and and witnesses. I was super impressed for Honey right there. Unfortunately, the judges weren't so impressed. I mean, their only problem with Heidi and Honey was the lack of family resemblance. And I thought Rue made some good points. Like Heidi's sleeves on that jumpsuit were frivolous. She could have cut those out and used that fabric in some way to put glitter onto Honey's outfit. Also, there was no gap in Honey's teeth. Heidi goes on and on about that gap. She didn't put it in her teeth. Like, oh, it was some missed opportunities there, sadly. And clearly, sadly, well-deserved. Sorry about it. All in all, the judges wanted to pop little snacky cocks in their mouth. She was so adorable. But Ross brought up a good point. As good as the two of them looked, he said to our Miss Cox that there were better looks on the runway. And you can't half-step it at this point in the competition. I'm so serious. The Essence Halls were the next, and you could tell that the judges were impressed with that transformation. The girls looked the same. They were so impressed. And I was impressed that Jada Essence Hall made those two outfits. I mean, I thought she made them that day. But no, I mean, clearly these queens are given lists of things, and one of the things they knew they had to do was mother-daughter outfits. So I'm sure she whipped up one that she could take in or let out if need be. And I think that was the case here. But still, what a transformation. And you could see the judges were very impressed. Seriously. Crystal and Opal were next, and the judges were in love. I was worried for that half a second when Ross said, "What the am I looking at?" And then said, "Because I'm loving it." I was so pleased and happy because not only did the judges buy the look and like the look, but there was an undeniable family resemblance, which was the point of this challenge. I'm so serious. Sherry Pie and Tiramisu were next, and as I felt, the judges were super impressed by Janet's transformation. I mean, in fact, most of them said they didn't even see her anymore. It was completely Sherry Pie. That was an excellent job. As good as Gigi and BB looked together, Michelle Visage felt, as I felt, that it was a safe look, that it was it was good. They looked good, but it wasn't impressive. And at this stage of the game, top 6, you gotta impress for success, I'm just saying. Then it was time for the Superfans to lip sync against each other. And even though they were paired up, there was really no winner or loser. Nobody was shamed for doing a bad job. Nobody was forced to sashay away. But the queens, even though everyone did a great job, the queens that really stood out for me were Tiramisu. I thought she did an excellent job. And then Opal Method. Mostly because I think Opal's transformation was the most extreme, and that doesn't always translate into an easy performance or interpretation for a performance. But Opal used the hair. She had no problem. She was in it to win it. And I have to say, one of the reasons I think she did so well with this particular style of drag is, as a kindergarten teacher, I think she's much more in tune to that childish joy, you know, that innocence and just thrilling experience to have, period. She was living it. You could tell. Seriously. Did I mention BB's death drop at the end? Fabulous! Now, I have to say, I thought that Sherry Pie and Crystal did better jobs at the makeover. I'm just going to say, I'm not saying that Jada Essence Hall didn't do a great job. She did a great job. But there was more of a family resemblance between Sherry Pie and Tiramisu and Crystal and Opal. That said, I thought that Jada Essence Hall, I have to agree with Rue here, where Jada did a better job throughout the whole competition, meaning the way she paired everyone up. She wasn't mean about it. She wasn't vindictive. She wasn't like, hey, you're getting this one because she's tough. She did an excellent job. So I can see why she won. But in my opinion, I thought she was edged out just a titchy touch by Crystal and Sherry. That's just my opinion. Just saying. Who was in the bottom, you ask? Well, our Ms. Cox and Heidi. And I have to say I was immediately worried for our Ms. Cox because Heidi's a lip sync assassin. She can sing, she can dance, and she sent 2 girls home already. This wasn't going to bode well for our Ms. Cox. But then this is also Heidi's 3rd time in the bottom. That has to factor in somewhere. Now, that said, there couldn't have been 2 different approaches to this song. These queens both went at it differently. Our Ms. Cox did more of a performance with subtext, and Heidi just danced her butt off. And I have to say, I thought they both did an excellent job. So did Rue, because even though Heidi Shantaed first, and poor Ms. Cox had to stew in her own juice for a second or two there, Rue revealed that neither queen would be going home. It was a double Shantae, and I, for one, couldn't be happier. I think that it sucks to go home on a contest where you're making over somebody, where the outcome of the finish isn't 100% on you. So I couldn't have been more thrilled about this outcome. How about you? What do you think? Do you think somebody should have gone home? I mean, we still have 6 queens. Somebody's definitely going home next week. What if it's a double sachet? Because we've had those before too. Well, all we can do is tune in to RuPaul's Drag Race next week. And when you're done, you come on back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, until then, make sure you like my video. If you did, don't lie to people. Seriously, it's not good to be lying. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because, oh my God, I can't believe that we're in the 4,000s already. And I want to thank you, again, all of you who've supported me on Patreon, Redbubble, or PayPal. I have links for all of that down below if you care to do so yourself. So, until next week, miss me. Mwah! Seriously, Jorge. You're so elegant with the martini.